Hello everybody and welcome to this video, the 90-day revision plan. I'm putting this video out on the 10th of February and your first English exam, if you're on AQA, is on the 13th of May, which gives us 93 days. You're going to want to start revising soon, so I wanted to help you with a plan of how to do just that. Now, the first thing to say is that you do need a revision plan. If you revise without a plan, you're likely to avoid the subjects you don't like. So here's my first tip. Write out a list of all your exam subjects in rank order of how much you like them, with your favourite at the top all the way down to your least favourite. List every subject that you have exams for. So for me, let's imagine it looks like this: English literature, English language, business studies, media, biology, history, maths, physics, chemistry, French. Now, if you don't have any preferences like that, perhaps list in terms of which you're best at and which you're weakest at based on mock exams and that kind of thing. Now, the next thing we're going to do is pair these subjects up into revision days. So we're going to take one from the top and one from the bottom, coming up with a revision schedule like this. So day 1 will be French and English literature. Day 2, chemistry and English language. Day 3, physics and business. Day 4, maths and media. Day 5, history and biology. And of course, if you've got more subjects, you come up with more days. And this then just rotates. When you finish day 5, you go back to day 1. Now, why do I recommend this? Well, every day when you're pushing through that revision on a topic that you don't like, you have the reward that once it's done, you get to work on a subject you love. And in fact, my very worst subjects are always followed by my very best. So I know that pushing through that session of French will be difficult, but I can look forward to the reward of literature after it. How long should each session be? I think a lot of this is down to your own capacity. When I studied for my GCSEs, for the month from about the Easter holidays onwards, I did 3 hours a night after school, 5 hours a day on a Saturday, and I took every Sunday off. And that was extreme, and that pushed me right to the limit. And you might be able to do that, but you don't want to burn out by overdoing it. You might think, no, I'll aim for, 1 hour a day, whatever it is. You also, of course, don't want to under-prepare and then feel ultra-stressed when the exams arrive. Remember, for most of you, you've got a half term now. You'll have 2 weeks off at Easter, the start of April. There's a bank holiday on the 6th of May. There's a half term at the end of May. So in those breaks, you might want to do more, and then on school days do a bit less. Also, plan some things that you enjoy into your revision schedule. So maybe take a 15-minute break between subjects to listen to music or play a game or call a friend. Mental health is so important. Remember, we want to do well in these exams, but not to the detriment of our mental health. You should prepare and do your best, but know that that's all you can do. So that's tip 1. Map out the subjects like this to make sure you don't just revise the things you enjoy. Next, you need to map out what you actually need to cover in each subject. So if we take literature, we've got our Shakespeare text, our 19th century novel, our modern text, the anthology poetry and the unseen poetry. And if I take 1 day off a week, which is a good idea, I think, I'm going to have 80 revision days before that first exam, which is 13 sessions on English literature. Now, if I break that down, that means I might spend 2 to 3 sessions on each text. And when you look at it like that, it's not a lot. But again, this requires some self-analysis. Perhaps we're going to write down how confident and well prepared we are on each area. And we might think about something like this. And we might think, well, I'm absolutely feel perfectly prepared on DNA, so I'm not going to have to do a great deal on that. But power and conflict, I'm really unprepared. Perhaps, I missed some lessons, I've missed 3 poems or whatever it is. Well, if that's your situation, you're going to want to spend more of your time on the poetry. So for each subject, you map out what you need to have covered by the end, then divide your time so that you'll have covered everything. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is making effective revision notes, and again, I'll focus on English literature and language as an example. This is all about making your revision efficient, looking at the best ways to recall the key points from your studies. It's about breaking down complex points into simple, memorable words, phrases or pictures, and helping you avoid becoming overwhelmed in the run-up to the exams. Now let's imagine you watched my video on the charge of the Light Brigade and wrote down everything I said. If you did that, you'd end up with about 4,000 words of notes, and whilst you'd have hopefully learned a lot from that, of course you wouldn't be expected to memorise all of it. The same goes for all of the notes you've got from school in your exercise books and your anthology. There's a difference between learning about something and then going back and revising it. So what should you do with those detailed notes you've made? Well, my advice is to look over the notes you've taken and condense them down into a number of key points. So sticking with our Light Brigade example, you might end up with something like this. Number 1, said at the time of the beginning of war reporting, with Tennyson as Poet Laureate, reading report in newspaper. 2 can be interpreted as praising the soldier's bravery or criticism of leadership. 3 follows the ballad form, a storytelling poem with the refrain, the 600, has elements of folklore and conveys that there is an important lesson to be remembered. 4. Dactylic dimeter, 2 lots of 1 stressed and 2 unstressed syllables. The structure mirrors the galloping horse hooves, it adds energy and reflects the falling soldiers. 5. The break from dactylic dimeter in someone had blundered highlights the leadership errors, with blundered being the word that appeared in the news report that Tennyson read. 6. Biblical references like Valley of Death emphasise the soldier's bravery and importance of the event. And 7. Sound-related words create a drum-like beat, but also subtly criticise the situation through phonetic similarity to Now, the next stage is to try and condense these points down into key words or phrases which will trigger your memory for each one. You might write those down on the other side of the card or piece of paper, and you could end up with war reporting / laureate, praise versus criticism, ballad, dactylic dimeter, blundered break, valley of death, Bible, And then you want to test yourself through looking just at these words or phrases. Can you remember the main points about the poem? Can you recall what they refer to? Have a go, then look at the back of the card to see if you were right. If a word or phrase doesn't help you recall anything at all, look at the back of the card or the piece of paper to remind yourself, and if that doesn't help, go back to the detailed notes and repeat the process. It's all about simplification. By condensing your notes down to key points, you'll understand the main ideas and reduce the risk of feeling overwhelmed. The other great thing about this approach is it allows you to self-assess. Without needing anyone else's help, you will quickly learn what you've remembered and what you've forgotten or misunderstood, and then you can go back over the topics you need to. If you do have someone who can help you, then they can test you. They tell you the key word and you try to remember what's on the back of the card, with them checking your understanding. It's also important to look back at these notes on a different day, when the information has disappeared from your short-term memory, to see if you can still remember what's what from these key words and phrases. And you'll repeat that process for each of the poems, for the key characters and themes in your novels and plays, for each question in the language exams. Now, it's important to add here that you have to make these notes. Your own choice of keywords and phrases will be different to someone else's and will be written in a way that means something to you specifically. And you might choose to draw these things rather than write words, whatever it takes to remember the key points. So you could have something like this: draw a newspaper to remember the war reporting point, tick an across to remember praise versus criticism, a musical note for the ballad form, a funny mathematical equation to remember that it's 2 lots of 1 stressed and 2 unstressed syllables, the word blundered with a break in it to remember there's this meter break in that line, a skull and crossbones for death to remind you of the valley of death, and by an ear to remember the importance of the sound. But the key thing is that your notes will be specific to you. With English language, it's the same approach, perhaps 1 card per question to start with, ultimately condensing that down to 1 main point per question. English language paper 2 might look like this. Question 1, statements are in chronological order, read between the lines, 5 minutes, AO1. Question 2, inference, given that this is the difference, what does this lead me to realise about the topic I've been asked to focus on, 10 mins, AO1. And you'll see there I put the word difference in inverted commas because we know that question can ask you to summarise differences, similarities or details about a topic. So I would know, looking at the inverted commas around difference, it's a reminder that it's not just differences that come up in that question. Question 3, what is the specific effect the writer is trying to achieve or reason behind the writer's choices? 15 minutes AO2. Question 4, what are the attitudes? What methods are used to present the attitudes? Analysis of why those methods are used. 20 minutes AO3. Question 5, one line of argument all the way through. Think carefully about your audience. 16 marks for technical accuracy. 45 mins, AO5, AO6. And the point here is that if I was sitting this exam, these are the things I'd want to remind myself of. But for you, you might have different things. By condensing your notes down and down, what you'll end up with is a manageable amount of notes to look over, and there'll be notes that mean something to you specifically. Now, what if you're sat there thinking, but I don't have those detailed notes for this poem or that question or that character? Well, I'd suggest at this point you watch my videos and make your notes from there, and then begin the process of condensing those notes down. So if you found this video useful, please do subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. I think something like 80% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so it would be really encouraging to me if you would subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.